Bendigo's vintage talking trams. I'd like to take you back to the beginning of Bendigo's story by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land of which we meet today, the Dja Dja Wurrung, and paying our respects to elders past and present. The area we are travelling on today is known as Jandar. Dja Dja Wurrung have lived in our traditional lands and cared for Jandar over many thousands of years. Dja Dja Wurrung have a strong spiritual and cultural connection to Jandar. It is a landscape in which the tangible is interwoven with dreaming stories, lore and ancestral spirits. Take a moment to visualise the land where our view would only be limited by the many iron bark and eucalyptus trees that thrive here. In the late 1830s, the area became pastoral settlement and was known as the Ravenswood Sheep Run. The overseer of the southern area was Tom Myers. Tom was a deft hand with his fists and an admirer of the renowned British bare-knuckled boxer William of Bendigo Thompson, who was nicknamed Bendigo. In 1841, Tom named the Bendigo Creek in his honour, and the name stuck. Gold was discovered along the Bendigo Creek in September 1851 by Margaret Kennedy and Julia Farrell, whose husbands worked on the sheep run. News spread quickly, and within 6 months, over 20,000 diggers had descended upon Bendigo, hoping to find their fortune. The government named the new township Sandhurst. But in 1891, a popular vote saw the name Bendigo reinstated. Today, Bendigo boasts a population of over 120,000 people. We're now travelling along High Street, the original road from Melbourne to the diggings. This road was carved out by the marching of diggers' feet and the wheels of their wagons. Bendigo was known as the Golden City. More than 5,500 rifts and shafts were sunk in the Bendigo goldfield, representing the largest concentration of deep shafts anywhere in the world. Over 700,000 kilograms of gold was yielded during the gold rush, which would be worth over $69 billion in today's prices. Coming up on our left is the Sacred Heart Cathedral. It is the third largest cathedral in Australia. As we pass by, note the statue at the front of the cathedral. It is of Mary MacKillop, Australia's first Catholic saint, and was erected in 2014. Bendigo's Catholic community began building the English Gothic-style cathedral in 1896, but it would take another 81 years for the project to be completed, with stone base was brought in from England and Italy. The 87-metre high spire has been part of the Bendigo skyline since 1977. The bronze cross at its apex weighs an incredible 3 tonnes. Bendigo's founders were keen to give their city an equal share, so they named the area we are entering Charing Cross and the street ahead Pall Mall. The cenotaph on the left was dedicated in 1957 and is a scaled-down replica of its counterpart in London's Whitehall district. Next to the cenotaph is the Alexandra Fountain, which marks the heart of Bendigo. It was unveiled in 1881 and named after the then Princess of Wales, Alexandra. Hugh Street runs up the hill to our left and is the hub of Bendigo's Arts Precinct, featuring the Capitol Theatre, the Trove Visual Arts Centre and the Bendigo Art Gallery. Next stop, Charing Cross. If you're getting off here, please mind the step and use the handrail as you leave the tram from the left-hand side. Rosalind from Shakespeare's play As You Like It. The park was opened in 1870. The Soldiers Memorial Hall on your left is built over what was once the main shaft of the Hustlers Royal Reserve gold mine. For decades it thundered away in the city centre, mining the Great Hustlers Reef, one of the richest reefs ever discovered in Australia. Notice the life-size statue of Sir George Lansdell holding a lump of quartz in his hand. George Lansdell was known as Australia's quartz king, and although he came from humble beginnings, his passion for quartz mining made him Bendigo's richest and most respected citizen during the gold rush years. Building on the left with a clock tower. It was designed by Major George Watson and is an example of Renaissance Revival architecture. Originally built as the Sandhurst Public Offices in 1887, it became the Bendigo Post Office and Federation. Beside it is the former Bendigo Law Courts. Today, this complex operates as the Bendigo Visitor Centre and is home to the Post Office Gallery and Living Arts Space. To our left is the historic Conservatory Gardens. Erected in 1892, it is the oldest public conservatory in Victoria. The conservatory is significant as many other public conservatories have been destroyed, making this a rare style of structure. Throughout the year, you can see changing floral and foliage displays. Ahead, you will see the Discovery of Gold monument. This monument was erected in 1901 and depicts Fortuna, the mythical goddess of good luck, dropping a gold nugget into the pan of a Bendigo digger. The gold rush attracted people from around the globe, including thousands of Chinese who came to Bendigo in search of prosperity. Bendigo's Chinese precinct to our left is called Dai Gan San. It translates to Big Gold Mountain, as Bendigo was known as the first Chinese to settle in the region. The proud history of Bendigo's Chinese is displayed in the Golden Dragon Museum, the adjacent Li Yuan Gardens, and the Kuan Yin Temple. At the museum, you can view Bendigo's famous Chinese dragons, Lung, the world's oldest, Sun Lung, formerly the world's longest imperial dragon, and Dai Gan Lung, Bendigo's newest and the world's longest dragon. The Bendigo Chinese Association display is a spectacular highlight of the annual Bendigo Easter Festival, which was established in 1871. The largest wooden churches in the Southern Hemisphere, and is the fourth church to be built in Bendigo. In the courtyard you will notice the gravestone of its founder, Catholic priest Reverend Dr. Henry Backus, a German immigrant. Bendigo boasts a number of significant religious sites, including the Great Stupa of Universal Compassion, located in Myers Lake. It is the largest Buddhist stupa in the Western world and is home to the Jade Buddha of the Universal Peace, the largest Buddha carved from gemstone quality jade in the world. People travelled from all over the world, risking everything to make a living, and, if they were lucky, a fortune from gold mining in Bendigo. The area we're now entering was originally known as Irish Town because of the very large number of Irish diggers camped nearby. We're now turning into Tramways Avenue and will be arriving at the Bendigo Tramways Depot and Workshop. Opened in 1903, it is the oldest operating tram depot in Australia. The depot is home to our renowned workshop, where trams are meticulously restored to their former glory or repurposed as cafes, accommodation, and even small classrooms. Enjoy a coffee or light meal at the Tram Cafe, served straight from the beautifully restored 1916 E-Class Tram number 3, a shining example of our workshop team's skills. You can also discover more about Bendigo's tramway history within the small museum. For those getting off here, please mind the step and use the handrail as you leave the tram. To any passengers who have just joined us, welcome aboard. On your left you will see Pepper Green Farm, a community-run market garden. These gardens have been here since the 1850s and were started by the Chinese, who made up a quarter of the town's population in 1856. At the time, the Chinese saw an opportunity to supply fresh vegetables to the hungry diggers. For many years, their horse-drawn wagons, laden with fresh produce, were a familiar sight around Bendigo. It was at these gardens in 2005 that archaeologists unearthed a 19th century Chinese brickmaking kiln, a significant discovery, as it's the only known example of a Chinese brickmaking kiln outside of China. The kiln remains in the gardens to this day. It is believed the bricks of the Bendigo Joss House Temple could have been fired here. On our left, you can see a tram line branching off to what was a second tram depot built inside the old Bendigo gasworks. This depot dates to the 1980s and houses the tramway's spare vehicles. Bendigo's gasworks are the last to remain complete in Victoria. Established in 1860, the gas was produced by roasting coal inside large horizontal ovens or retorts. Roasting coal was a filthy job, with flashes of fire, dust, and a terrible smell. The gasworks closed in 1973 when natural gas was introduced to Bendigo. Ahead is the Tysons Reef precinct. If you wish to get off here, please pull the left-hand bell pull once, mind the step, and use the handrail as you leave the tram. The area ahead of us near the Golden Dragon Museum used to be the centre of Bendigo's very own Chinatown. During the gold rush, thousands of Chinese walked almost 500 kilometres to Bendigo after first arriving in Roe on the South Australian coast. The ship's captains would sail to South Australia instead of Victoria to avoid paying the £10 tax levied by the Victorian government on every Chinese person arriving at a Victorian port. As they walked in single file in groups of up to 700 across unfamiliar and rough terrain, the Chinese carried twin bags or baskets of belongings on a long pole, balancing the weight onto the distinctive gate. It took roughly 4 weeks to reach the diggings. Next stop, Lake Waroona. If you're getting off here, please mind the step, use the handrail, and leave the tram to the left-hand side. In 1876, 45 acres of land was set aside for the building of a lake. At the time, Lake Waroona cost £10,000 to construct and was opened to the public in 1878. This is the equivalent of $2.5 million Australian dollars now. The name Waroona is an Aboriginal word meaning pleasant waters, a reminder that for thousands of years, Bendigo has been home to the Dja Dja Wurrung people. Bendigo's trams work intrinsically entwined with the city's identity and the communities that they serve. The tramway operated for up to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Early electric trams seated roughly 24 people, but were often packed to the rafters with 8 or more hanging on the straps. People in stiff shirts, long dresses, and boys in knickerbockers, all with somewhere to be. The tramway provided best transport for all of Bendigo's special occasions, and the trams were often gaily decorated for fairs, centenaries, and street processions. The trammies knew their passengers had their habits. They would hold the tram as a panting regular roasting attention, point out places of interest, assist the frail, and happily spin a yarn with those on board. It was their friendly service that embedded them as part of the community. But it's a tough game. The shifts were long, the breaks short, and wages were roughly $3 a week. It was said that if anyone came to work wearing new shoes, they got sacked. The company suggested no one could afford new shoes on their wages, and therefore they must be particularly tilt. In the face of such conditions, camaraderie amongst the trainees was terrific. take. This area has a long-standing relationship with Bendigo's prestigious tertiary education. The first building on this site was a single-storey timber and canvas structure, constructed in the early 1850s as the Sandhurst Mechanics Institute. The Institute expanded in 1863, building the first hub of the existing building. In 1873, a two-storey extension was erected by the School of Mines. Between 1887 to 1890, it was a home to the Sandhurst Fine Art Gallery, exhibiting works from across the globe, with many of those artworks now housed within the Bendigo Art Gallery. The Star Bar on the corner is the oldest surviving building along Belmont, and next to it is the site where Sidney Myer opened his first store in 1900. Myer had arrived in Australia a year earlier as a penniless Russian migrant, but his talent for retail quickly earned him a loyal customer base. Coming up on our left is Bull Street, crowned at its eastern end by the Bendigo Town Hall, a grand design by local architect Wilhelm Barland, and a fine example of boom-tile architecture. We're now approaching the Shamrock Hotel, which began life as a small hotel in 1854. The hotel's patronage grew so quickly with the booming gold fields that it was rebuilt twice before becoming the building we see today. Its grandeur made it the accommodation of choice of visiting dignitaries. Guests included Melbourne opera singer Dame Nellie Melba, who is now featured on our $100 note, and His Royal Highness Prince Charles, now King Charles, and Diana, Princess of Wales. Coming up on our left is the heritage-listed Beehive building, built in 1872 and designed by renowned architect Charles Webb. It was originally home to the Bendigo Mining Exchange. We're now at Bendigo's shopping and dining precinct. This one-stop foodie paradise epitomises Bendigo's food culture with international cuisine, local produce, locally roasted coffee, boutique shopping, and everything in between. Next stop, Charing Cross. If you are getting off here, please mind the step, use the handrail, and leave the tram from the right-hand side. If you have just joined us, welcome aboard. In 1858, a company was started as a building society to improve conditions on the Bendigo goldfields. This society loaned money to miners, enabling them to move out of tents and work towards owning their own home. Today, that loan scheme is better known as the Bendigo Bank, whose head office is situated to your left. From the 1930s to the 1960s, this area was the heart of Bendigo's theatre district. The Plaza Cinema, Lyric Theatre and Royal Princess Theatre, all within walking distance of one another. The Star Cinema in Eaglehawk used to swap movies with the Lyric Theatre and Intimate, using the Bendigo tramways as transport. The tram conductor would meet the projectionists out the front and exchange the reels. It wasn't just people and movie reels that were transported. There were even parcel tickets. For instance, parcel could be carried by tram from the city to a designated tram stop or convenience shop along the route. Newspapers, meat, groceries, and a variety of other goods all found their way onto the trams and were delivered by the trammies. You may be wondering why Bendigo's public tramway system closed. Urban sprawl meant schools and shops were being built away from the city centre, bus services were introduced, and privately owned vehicles became affordable. As much as the community loved the trams, fewer were relying on them for transport, and revenue steadily declined. The 16th of April 1972 marked the last day of commuter services, with over 20,000 people lining Bendigo streets to bid the trams farewell. The trams were followed back to the depot by a hooded motorcade bands playing Now Is the Hour, We Must Say Goodbye. The idea of trams vanishing from Bendigo didn't sit easy with the community. 5,000 signatures were collected on a petition, together with 600 letters, pleading to the government to allow Bendigo's trams and track to be preserved as a tourist tramway. As a result, Bendigo's vintage talking tram service began in December 1972 and has been running ever since. We're nearing Central River Gold Mine, which operated as a commercial mine from 1939 to 1954. During this time, almost 1 tonne of gold was extracted, which would be worth around $91 million at today's prices. Central River Gold Mine now operates as an award-winning tourist attraction and is a living reminder of the important role that mining played in making Bendigo the vibrant, diverse city it is today. Be sure to experience one of the fascinating underground tours. For those of you leaving us, we hope you've enjoyed the experience and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Passengers leaving us here are asked to wait for directions from the tram crew. Mind the step and use the handrail. While those of you choosing to stay aboard will have a few minutes to wait while our crew prepares for the next part of our journey.